You know, it was bad when the biggest drama of the night was when Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron got into it with his center, Barrett Jones. There was about 5 minutes left in the game. Jones was making a line call. He got trumped by his quarterback, McCarron, who, of course, is the quarterback and calls the signals. McCarron just jumped into his face after calling a timeout to sort things out, and Jones pushed him away. These guys are great friends. They love each other. They're roommates, so everything was all good. They're competitors, and they are A personalities, so they want to take control of the situation. So that's what kept the interest late in the game. It was that bad. MarkRogersTV just minutes after Alabama completely embarrassed and dismantled Notre Dame 42-14. The score doesn't indicate the dominance. Bama led 28-0 at the half, ran the ball the majority of the second half, could have hit on some big plays downfield, did not, but again, it was sealed after the first quarter in this one. Bama came out and dominated from the first drive of this ball game. It may have been better if Alabama would have split up and played an intra-squad scrimmage in this one. It certainly would have been more entertaining and probably more competitive to do that. Let's run down some of the numbers with Alabama 529 yards total offense, Notre Dame 302, most of that in garbage time, so that's not indicative of the Alabama dominance. What really speaks volumes here is that the Alabama defense held the Notre Dame rush game to 32 total rushing yards. Of course, that includes sacks. But that really tells the story because Everett Golson was not going to win this game with his right arm or even his arm and his legs. He needed Notre Dame to be able to run the football, and they clearly could not against this Alabama defense that we talked about in a video post earlier today. So check that out. C.J. Mosley and company really put the clamps on the Notre Dame rushing attack. We talked about A.J. McCarron and his theatrics late in the game with Barrett Jones, but again, more than a game manager, that's what he's been termed, and he completed 20 of 28, 264 through the air, his second consecutive sterling performance in a BCS championship game, of course, in winning the offensive MVP last season against LSU. He threw 4 touchdowns in this game with no picks. A.J. McCarron, not typically on that short list of great quarterbacks in college football, with Matt Barkley and with Geno Smith and Johnny Manziel, but he should be. He could make all the throws tonight. He made the NFL throws. It was mentioned during the game. Yeah, this guy can throw it in tight spaces and from different angles on the field. He is an exceptional quarterback and the first in a long line during the BCS era to be able to back up that first championship with a back-to-back repeat championship, something Matt Leinart and Ken Dorsey could not do. 20 of 28, yes, for A.J. McCarron. We talked about Everett Golson. He played well considering he was running for his life most of the time, did not have the support of a running game. And this guy's best days are ahead of him. He's a redshirt freshman. Everett Golson, of course, most of these numbers in garbage time, 21 of 36, 270 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. What was kind of strange was how he was hanging the ball down the sidelines for Tyler Eifert while Notre Dame was still in the game in the first quarter. Eifert's an exceptional tight end, probably the best pass-catching tight end in the country. He had 6 receptions on the night, but he was matched up most of the time with D. Milner, who's an All-American, All-SEC. He's going to be probably a first-round NFL pick. This was not a good matchup for Notre Dame to get Eifert the football. Unfortunately, on that first Notre Dame series, Eifert converted a 3rd and short with a long 30 or 35-yard reception down the right sideline, was not given credit for the reception. I thought for sure that the play was going to be reviewed because he clearly caught the ball. This wasn't going to change things. Bama dominated this game, but Notre Dame would have had the ball deep in Alabama territory with a shot of tying the game or at least getting a field goal on the board and staying in the game for a few more minutes. Of course, we didn't know at that point how dominant Alabama was going to be, mostly with that running game. Most of the talk coming into this game, including what I had to say earlier in the day and matching that Alabama offensive line against the Notre Dame defensive front that had given up 2 rushing touchdowns this season. Eddie Lacy and company embarrassed them, shredded them. Lacy, 20 carries, 140 yards. TJ Yeldon got into the 100-yard act with a $108 on 21 carries. They are the first tandem since, oh yeah, Alabama against Texas just 4 seasons ago in racking up 100-yard games when it was, of course, Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram for that team as Alabama and Nick Saban got their first championship of the 3 of 4. Also, the Alabama outside speed on the perimeter, Amari Cooper, the one name to throw out there, was supremely dominant and far superior than Notre Dame on the outside. The Notre Dame cornerbacks could not keep up. Russell and Jackson, Mata at the safety position could not keep up with the Alabama wide receivers. We think of Alabama as a tough team running the football, I formation, not real fancy, but they recruit elite speed, and they have it. Think Julio Jones. Amari Cooper is right in that mold. He's a freshman, and he is going to be dominant. Maybe not throw up the numbers, but make the big catches in the big games that Nick Saban is looking for. It was very curious that Theo Riddick, he caught a 6-yard touchdown pass to make it 42-14 there in the fourth quarter, why Theo Riddick was not used in a different way by Notre Dame. He should have been used in the slot. This was talked about leading into the game by a lot of analysts, that Theo Riddick was the one mismatch that Notre Dame could take advantage of. Get him on a linebacker, get him in the slot, great speed, let him catch the football. He's got great hands. He caught one pass. The game was over at that point. 6-yard reception for the touchdown. Theo Riddick could have been used. Not that it would have made a difference, but that was a bit curious in terms of some of the play calling and some of the matchups that Brian Kelly was shooting for. And again, Everett Golson taking shots down the field on 3rd and 4th down when they could have gone to more conservative play calling to try to convert those 3rd and short plays. They were going down the field for some reason when the game was still in doubt, if it was ever in doubt. Bama, of course, has won 3 of 4 national championships, BCS championships, because as you know from watching us here on Mark Rogers TV, we don't necessarily agree with this system. It's a selection process, but that's for another day. Alabama wins 3 of 4, the first team since Nebraska in 1994, 95, and 97 to win 3 national championships in 4 years. We would love to run down our top 25. We will do that in the next few days. Of course, Bama's going to be 1. Does Notre Dame hang on to number 2? We will run it down, the top 25. Of course, the SEC is going to be very much represented. One more note here. Does this really surprise us, considering that Notre Dame struggled mightily against teams that are like top 50, top 60 teams? Beat Purdue at home on the last play of the game. Purdue outgained them. Purdue had similar results in stopping the Notre Dame run as Alabama did. BYU lost just 17-14 at South Bend. Of course, Stanford, that game went to overtime, and Stanford was robbed of a call at the goal line. Pitt, had they made a field goal, would have defeated Notre Dame. Even Michigan, people don't talk about how close the Michigan game was, but that was 13-6. Michigan outgained Notre Dame, and if Denard Robinson was a decent quarterback and could throw the football and not throw it up like a shot put, he threw up 4 balls for grabs. Those were picked off, or Michigan would have defeated Notre Dame. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the 2 best teams in the country. Not saying that anybody could have hung with Alabama outside the SEC, but, of course, Ohio State possibly could have been a more competitive game, and certainly Oregon, Alabama would have been an interesting one to watch as well. Would now love to hear what you have to say about Alabama Notre Dame, about the Alabama dynasty, about the SEC's dominance at this point, right here on Mark Rogers TV.